The emergency beacon had stopped transmitting 3 days ago. Orla sat with her back against the twisted hull of the escape pod, watching twin suns set over the violet canopy of an alien forest. Her survival suit was torn at the shoulder, and the recycler had given up that morning. She had maybe 48 hours of breathable air left in her reserve tank. Not that it mattered much anymore. James was gone. The landing had seen to that. His pod had separated during atmospheric entry, streaking toward the southern continent while hers careened into this endless wilderness. The company would mark them both as casualties. 2 more names on the manifest of the Tenacity, lost to a catastrophic drive failure somewhere between Proxima and Kepler 442. A sound rustled in the undergrowth. Orla's hand moved to the plasma cutter on her belt, then froze. 3 small creatures emerged from between the bioluminescent ferns, each no larger than a terrier. They moved on 6 legs, their bodies covered in crystalline scales that reflected the fading light in prismatic patterns. Their heads were distinctly predatory, forward-facing eyes, serrated mandibles, sensory whiskers that twitched as they analyzed her scent. She recognized them from her xenobiology briefing. Hexapoda carnifex, apex predators on this world. Pack hunters that could strip a prey animal to bones in minutes. Adults stood 2 meters at the shoulder. These were cubs. They approached cautiously, heads low, emitting soft, chittering sounds. The lead cub, slightly larger than its siblings, stopped half a meter away. Its eyes, compound and multifaceted, studied her with unsettling intelligence. Orla didn't move. Her training screamed at her to activate the plasma cutter, to scare them off, but something in their body language gave her pause. They weren't stalking. They were investigating. The lead cub took another step forward. Then another. It pressed its head against her boot. The touch was tentative, almost questioning. When Orla didn't react, the cub let out a low, rumbling sound. Not aggressive, but something else entirely. The other 2 responded, moving closer. Within moments, all 3 were pressing against her legs, their crystalline scales warm to the touch. They were shivering. Orla looked up at the darkening sky. The temperature was dropping fast. It had plunged 15 degrees in the last hour alone. These cubs were young, probably separated from their pack. Without their mother's body heat, they wouldn't survive the night. Neither would she, probably. "All right," she whispered, carefully unzipping her thermal jacket. "Come on, then." The cubs needed no further invitation. They climbed over each other in their eagerness, burrowing into the space between her undershirt and jacket. Their scales were surprisingly smooth, and despite their fearsome anatomy, they settled against her torso with the awkward clumsiness of any young creature seeking warmth. Orla zipped the jacket as far as it would go, feeling the weight of 3 alien predators against her chest and stomach. They squirmed for a moment, finding comfortable positions, then went still. Within minutes, their breathing deepened into sleep. She sat motionless, afraid to disturb them. The night grew colder. Her breath misted in the air. The reserve tank hissed softly, counting down her remaining hours. But the cubs were warm, and their presence was oddly comforting. Orla found herself stroking the head of the one tucked highest against her chest, feeling the delicate whiskers twitch in dreams. Humanity's greatest weakness, her xenobiology instructor had said during training, is our compulsive need to protect things that are small and helpless. It'll get you killed out there. Maybe he was right. But as the night deepened and the forest came alive with bioluminescent blooms, Orla didn't regret her choice. If these were her last hours, at least she wasn't spending them alone. She must have dozed off because she woke to the sound of heavy footfalls and deep, resonant growls. Her hand went to the plasma cutter, but froze when 6 adult Hexapoda carnifex emerged from the darkness, their scales glowing with internal luminescence. The lead adult, massive, scarred, terrifying, approached slowly. Its eyes fixed on Orla, then dropped to the bulge in her jacket where the cub slept peacefully. This was it. She was dead, but the adult didn't attack. Instead, it lowered its head and released a soft chirp, the same sound the cubs had made. Under her jacket, the 3 young ones stirred, responding with sleepy chirps of their own. The adult's eyes met Orla's. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the creature turned its head, gesturing with a complex motion of its whiskers. The other adults formed a circle around Orla, settling onto the ground. Their body heat radiated outward, creating a pocket of warmth in the freezing night. They were sharing their warmth with her. Orla felt tears prick her eyes. She didn't understand the full complexity of what was happening, but the message was clear enough. She had protected the cubs, and now the pack was protecting her. She stayed still, letting the cubs sleep, surrounded by creatures that should have been her death but had instead become her salvation. When dawn broke, a new sound cut through the morning air, the unmistakable whine of rescue shuttle engines. Orla looked up to see a company search craft descending through the canopy, its transponder searching for her beacon. The adult Carnifex didn't flee. They watched as the shuttle landed, as the crew emerged in hazard suits, as they called out in amazement at the scene before them, and when they lifted Orla into the shuttle, carefully, extracting the sleepy cubs from her jacket and placing them gently on the ground, the lead adult touched its head to her hand one final time. Later, James would greet her on the recovery ship, his own rescue story far less miraculous. But Orla would remember this night for the rest of her life, the night she learned that sometimes humanity's greatest weakness was also its greatest strength. The night she stayed still so predator cubs could sleep, and found family in the most unexpected place.